To Centerline, you reach your opponent with the shortest route. That's number one. Number two is economy of motion. So Wing Chun doesn't waste movement. Every strike, block, or shift is designed to the direct, efficient, and meaningful. It's not about speed, it's about timing. The shortest distance between 2 points is always a straight line. And that's exactly how Wing Chun works. The relaxation and structure. True power doesn't come from tension, it comes from relax. When you relax, your energy flows naturally. When your body is tense, you block your own power. Think of a bamboo. It's flexible but unbreakable. That's the structure we want in Wing Chun. Number four is simultaneously attack and defend. You defend, you attack. Instead of blocking first and then attacking, Wing Chun teaches you to do both at the same time. The concept is called Lin Xiu Tai Da, receive and strike simultaneously. So this will save time, energy, and open up opportunities your opponent doesn't expect. So this is Wing Chun, the four core value. Now look at the core techniques. The movements that embody this principle, so Tan Sao, Bong Sao, Fok Sao, we call it the mother's hands. Tan Sao, Bong Sao, Fok Sao. So Tan Sao deflects upward, Bong Sao deflects outward, Fok Sao control and sense the opponent's energy. So practicing this helps you read pressure, feel timing, and stay relaxed under attack. And then the chain punching, Lin Wan Kun, the famous Wing Chun chain punches, aren't about just simply punching. It's about alignment, structure, and forward intention. Always aim towards the center line. The goal is continuous pressure. One punch follow into the next punch. Like water downstream, just keep coming. And the third is footwork and body alignment. The son of E.G. Kim Yong-ma give you balance and power. Every step must be rooted yet mobile, grounded like a mountain, but light like a feather. Good footwork is silent, efficient, and always maintain your structure. The fourth is Chi Sao, or sticky hand. That is the soul of Wing Chun. It trains, reflects timing and sensitivity. In these exercises, the partner rolls the hand in contact. You're learning to feel your opponent's movement. You learn to react quickly, not with your eyes, but with your touch. So through Chi Sao, you discover your weakness and you refine your control. So training Wing Chun is not about how hard you hit. It's about how you build your internal understanding. So here are the key methods every serious student should follow. So the first one is form. Practice the forms Silim Tao, the basic, Cham Kyu, the intermediate, and Piu Chi. These are the foundation. So Silim Tao teaches you structure, relaxation, and center line. Cham Kyu introduces movement, you turn and you're bridging the gap. Piu Chi is the efficient form, like emergency form, correct? It recovers structure when lost. So don't rush to forms, meditate them. Each motion refines your awareness. Partner drills. Wing Chun isn't learned in isolation. You must test the structure with a partner. Practice distance, timing, and pressure. Light sparring helps you apply the principle without losing control. Wall back training. The ball back develops focus and striking power and also toughen your knuckles. So each punch should connect from the ground up. Relaxed, direct, and explosive at the point of contact. You're not just conditioning your hands, you're aligning your body. So the fourth is a wooden dummy, Mu Yan Zhong. Wooden dummy is like a teacher, a silent teacher. Your arm and leg represent a possible attack or obstacles. So repetition, you learn positioning, angle, and energy flow. Each move should be alive, not robotic. Relax, man. The dummy refines you, your coordination, and discipline. Mental and breathing practice, calm mind, calm action. Breathing should be natural, not forced. Focus on awareness, not aggression. True Wing Chun training develops character, humility, patience, and adaptability. So, to me, Wing Chun is not just a fighting system. It's a way of life. It teaches you how to move with purpose, how to stay calm in chaos, and how to overcome strength with skill. Every principle, relaxation, efficiency, timing, can be applied to daily life. So when you train Wing Chun, you're not just learning to fight, you're learning to feel, to flow, and to understand yourself. So keep training yourself. And remember, in Wing Chun, the ultimate opponent is not outside, it's within yourself. So what I'm saying is that know yourself before you know others. So you know your strong point and you know your weak point. So let me speak to ChatGPT. We can ask her about the core training principle Wing Chun, and let's share and see what she said. Hi ChatGPT, good morning.
Good morning, lovely to hear from you. If you're ready, I'll share those Wing Chun questions so you can have them handy. Let's do it.
Yes, can you tell me what is the core principle of Wing Chun techniques? Explain to me and my audience so that whether we are aligned together.
Absolutely. So one of the core principles of Wing Chun is efficiency of movement. It's all about using the shortest, most direct path to either defend or attack, so you're not wasting any energy. Another big principle is economy of energy, which kind of goes hand in hand. You're not muscling through techniques, you're using just the right amount of force. And finally, sensitivity, or the idea of sticky hands, is super important. Basically being able to feel your opponent's movements and respond in real time. So those are a few of the foundational ideas that really keep everything aligned in Wing Chun.
I see. So if I want to learn Wing Chun, what technique should I start with? What should I learn first from a teacher?
Absolutely. So typically, if you're just starting out in Wing Chun, you'd begin with something called Sunim Tao. It's basically the first form, and it's like the ABCs of Wing Chun. It teaches you your stance, your structure, and all the fundamental hand positions. From there, you'd probably move on to practicing things like basic sticky hands drills, and then eventually some wooden dummy techniques. But everything really starts with that first form, just to get your foundation solid.
So when I train the Sunim Tao, a lot of students find it very boring. Just stand there and just use the hands movement. How can I help the students so that it won't be so bored for them in training Sunim Tao? And most people give up on the first day or first week.
Yeah, that's a really common challenge because Sunim Tao is so slow and meditative. One way to help students stay engaged is to give them little goals or things to focus on within the form, like paying attention to their breathing or focusing on feeling every little movement in their joints. Another trick is to break it up a bit, maybe intersperse the form practice with some very simple applications so they see how it translates into real techniques. That way it feels a bit more dynamic and they're less likely to get bored and give up.
I see. So can we hasten the speed of training in Sunim Tao instead of like months and months and months? Can we do that in weeks or days?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. A lot of people want to speed it up because it can feel like a long process. While the traditional approach does take a good bit of time to really sink in, you can definitely make it a little more efficient. For example, you can have shorter, more focused sessions where you're really concentrating on quality rather than quantity, and maybe give them little milestones so they feel progress within a few weeks. You can definitely compress it a bit as long as you keep the key principles intact and make sure they're still getting that solid foundation.
Should I add on some physical training like press up, sit up, and punching pad? Would that help to motivate the student?
Yeah, absolutely. Adding in some physical conditioning elements like push-ups, sit-ups, or some pad work can definitely make it more engaging for students. It breaks up the monotony of just doing the form and gives them a little bit of a physical challenge. Plus, it helps them feel like they're building strength and power alongside the technical skills. So yeah, mixing those things in can definitely keep them motivated and make the training a lot more fun.
So what you're saying that I break it down to Silim Tao. For example, they do not need to stand there for hours, just practice the form, which is very boring for most people. You to break it down bit by bit and then add in some sort of physical training like sit up, press up, back work, a little bit of possible little bit of defense technique, how to block using Silim Tao techniques. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yep, you've got it exactly. Basically, instead of having them just stand there doing the form for a really long stretch, you break it into manageable pieces, and then you sprinkle in some of those physical exercises like push-ups or sit-ups, or even a bit of pad work or a little bit of defensive technique so they can see how the form applies. That way, it's more dynamic, more engaging, and yeah, a lot less boring for them. So that's exactly the idea.
I see. So, thank you for that. So the second thing is that once they've gone through this boring beginning stuff, what is the next step should the student practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So once they've got that initial foundation down and they've kind of worked through the slow and steady part of Sunim Tao, the next step is usually to introduce them to Chum Kyu. So Chum Kyu is the second form, and that's where they start to learn about moving their stance, footwork, and really coordinating their hands and their body together. It's kind of like taking everything they learned in the first form and now adding motion and a little bit of complexity. And of course, from there, they can start doing more two-person drills like Jisao or sticky hems. So it's like they're stepping into the next level where they can actually apply what they've learned in a more dynamic way.
So in this level, should I introduce a little bit of free sparring?
Yeah, that's a great thought. Once they've got that second form under their belt and they're starting to get comfortable with things like Chisao, you can definitely introduce a little bit of free sparring. Just keep it light and controlled at first so they can build confidence. It's a really good way for them to start applying what they've learned in a more fluid and adaptive way. And it definitely keeps them engaged and makes them feel like they're progressing.
I see. But I find it inspiring. A lot of students tend to want to beat the hell of one another just to prove that, or maybe it's ego, man or woman, doesn't matter. They just want to hit and lose the core principle of Wing Chun. All they want to do is to win. How can I solve this problem?
Yeah, that's a really common issue, and it's a totally understandable one because, egos can come into play when sparring starts. I think the key is to set a really clear culture from the beginning that sparring isn't about beating each other up or winning. It's really about learning and helping each other improve. So you can frame it as cooperative sparring rather than competitive sparring, at least at first, and you can encourage them to give each other feedback and focus on the idea that you're both there to get better together. So it's kind of a mindset shift, and if you reinforce that from the start, it really helps keep the ego in check.
Thank you for that. That was very great. I mean, what you mean is that explain to them they're sparring to help to improve each other techniques and make them feel better, get better, and giving each other feedback, and not just beating and punching each other in sparring. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So now they're into the sparring stage. They want to move to the next level. What is the next level?
Sure thing. So once they're comfortable with sparring at that basic level, the next step is really to start layering on more advanced techniques and scenarios. So they might move on to things like practicing against multiple opponents or dealing with different ranges or even integrating weapons defense if that's part of your curriculum. And you can also start refining their sensitivity and their ability to adapt under pressure. So it's like each level just adds a new layer of complexity and realism, and that helps them keep growing.
So this, after practicing the basic foundation of hand movement, the body movement, the sparring, the chisao, is it time to, how long would that be? 6 months, 3 months, 1 year?
Yeah, the timeline can definitely vary depending on how often they're training and how quickly they pick things up. But generally, you might see them getting comfortable with all those foundational elements like the forms, the basic sparring, and some chisao within maybe 6 months to a year if they're training regularly. It really depends on the individual and the pace of the class, but somewhere in that range is pretty reasonable before you move them on to the next level.
I see. What do you mean by training regularly? Is that because most classes only an hour? Once a week, twice a week, or 3 times a week? What is the best, number of training a week should a student have to reach to that level?
Yeah, so by training regularly, I really just mean a consistent schedule. Ideally, if a student can train maybe 2 or 3 times a week, even if it's just an hour each time, that's a pretty good rhythm to see progress over that 6 months to a year period. If they're only training once a week, it might take a bit longer, and if they're able to train more often, they might speed it up a bit, but 2 to 3 times a week is a pretty solid sweet spot.
So how many hours should they train when they go back home on their own time? A week?
Yeah, so practicing at home can definitely make a big difference. Even if they can just do, say, 15 to 20 minutes a few times a week at home, that adds up and really helps reinforce what they learn in class. So it doesn't have to be hours and hours, but a little bit of consistent solo practice each week, maybe a couple short sessions, can really speed up their progress and help them feel more confident.
I see. So the key thing is train at least 2 times a week in school, an hour or maybe a bit longer. And then when we go back home, just practice 10 to 15 minutes a week, and it will help you to strengthen you and also hasten your training program. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you've got it. That's exactly it. So if they're training a couple times a week in class and then just adding a little bit of at-home practice, just those 10 or 15 minutes here and there, that really reinforces what they've learned and speeds up the whole process. So yeah, you've got the formula down.
Okay, thank you for that, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I could help out. Definitely feel free to reach out anytime, and we'll chat again soon. Take care and have fun with the training.
Thank you. There you have it. So basically, practice twice a week in the school, and then come home every day, just do 10 to 15 minutes. And most important thing, I think, is the mindset, is to understand what you learn. You see, don't just follow blindly. The key thing is to ask questions. If not, then just ask. Like me, I ask the teacher. And then when you spar with your friends, it's not about beating each other up or winning. There's no winner or loser in the gym. It's just a practice center. So you have to be very clear with that. And also to say that the most important thing, that a lot of students, I mean, I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, everybody just want to fight, right? We live in a new world now. That most of my students, I'm not saying all, comes in and they want to challenge me. And if they can beat me up, then they're not going to train with me. It's quite tough training in the 70s and 80s and teaching, because this is the mindset of competition mindset, which I can